Wait for a few people to pop in here. There's one. Hello, Doc. How are you? Oh, man. Maybe kind of a quiet night. As in how in New Jersey, Doc? I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to it, but I'm sure it's getting bad everywhere. Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, our current situation will cause a lot of people to um, they'll struggle with the mental stuff. Hey, we're doing pretty good. What's up, Mike? How are you? We're doing pretty good. Just kind of laughing because this has been one of those too much month at the end of the money, if you know what I mean. Um, been an expensive month. I had to go get hay today, and I called down there. We get this place um, in Ocala that we get hay, and they said, yeah, the bales are $29 a bale, and I'm like, holy crap! You know, back up home before we all had this, we were buying hay for like $5 or $6 a bale, and it's just stupid money down here. Doc, the Equinox is good, really good. Uh, yesterday we went and listened to some live music, and it's the first time she got it on the highway. And before you know it, uh, we're doing above this posted speed limit, and we'll just leave it there. Uh, and it didn't even feel like it. I mean, the thing was super smooth. I had to put a tire on it when we got it because it had a plug in one of the tires, and it's part of the certified inspection. So they uh, they bought a tire for it, and I thought that was cool. So I went ahead and balanced all the tires, and I did what they call a road force, which the actual tire machine simulates the tire being on the ground. It can find a heavy spot, and I found one tire that had a heavy spot in it. So I dismounted it, rotated it to where it matched where it needed to be, and put it back on. And it was perfect. And I mean to tell you, this thing is super smooth on the highway. And I have got a splinter in my palm that is about to drive me nuts. I got to try to get that out later. But yeah, she really likes it. Oh, look at there. Brian is in the house. Have not seen Brian on the chat for quite some time. $45, huh? Yeah, it's warmed up here for sure. How are you, Brian? How have you been? Well, fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Oh yeah. Uh, It's funny you say that. I was just drawing a blank. Uh, I told the wife about that too. We were looking on it earlier. He was supposed to be on like 6 o'clock or something like that. I missed it. I'm sure I can watch it in the reruns, but it was supposed to have been his first uh, campaign, actual campaign rally. So, oh, it's fantastic. Uh, after I found that 3-2 shift valve that was backwards, put it all back together. It's been perfect since. And then he had it. He got his 5.3 in it, and it's got a Truck Norris cam in it, which is pretty stout. But anyway, he found an actual tuner that knows how to tune them, and he tuned the transmission up too. And he says this thing is just fantastic. Oh, I'm sure, Doc. I it. I'm sure there was a sea of people. He went with a. He had me get one for him, and it was basically I told him I wanted like a 2600 stall for this thing, and yeah, it was good. Still has lockup and all that other good stuff, but yeah, he says you stomp on it, it wakes up pretty quick. It's pretty impressive. So I got another one I built with a bunch of Sonics goodies, and I have not released that video yet. Guys, I am so far behind on doing videos. Um, I've got a whole bunch of them recorded. I just have not had time to sit down and edit. Um, it's something I enjoy to do. But the funny thing about YouTubers is a lot of them don't mind the recording. It's the editing part that really stinks. Mike, I didn't put the valve in there. That's one valve that, for some reason, that was one valve that I didn't check, and I got this core off of one of the guys at work, and he had complained when he put it in his truck it didn't work, and he had gotten another one. I just asked for the core, and he gave it to me, and like a dummy, I didn't look at that valve and real close, which I should have, because it was basically it was in backwards. So what it would do is it would skip second gear. It just go first to third. Nothing was burnt up. I mean, there's absolutely nothing in the pan. Everything else was good. I was able to switch the valve around, and he was down the road again. So I'm gonna pump in that and got that seal hanging up. Oh, I just resized it longer, basically. And, I'd been eyeballing a lot of the pumps when I put them together. I've done it for so long. Um, eyeballing the pumps to, the pump halves, and then torquing them down and then putting them in the case. Well, I finally went and broke down and bought the actual pump alignment uh, tool, which is nothing but a great big huge hose clamp. And ever since I started using that, they just fall right in. As long as you leave that sizer on there long enough for it to get in there. But oh yeah. That usually the ones that hang up are the stator shaft seals that goes into the reverse input housing. those are the ones that usually cause you an issue. It's not usually the turbine shaft seals, but the bigger stator shaft seals. It hangs up on that lip on the drum, and doesn't want to slide down in there. It's a snug fit. But yeah, it was in there. You know, the worst one is they used. Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about the 60s as far as a new product, but there's companies out there making stuff for sure. Um, they use that same style Teflon ring in the 8L series transmissions, which is the 8 speeds. The only difference is the Teflons in that are twice as thick, not widthwise, but actual diameter thickness is really wide, and they don't like to give. Um, I can't remember how I actually did the last one. I think I actually heated them up on a table to get them to expand enough to get it in the groove. But man, you want to talk about some stout Teflon seals. But anyway, um, yeah, one of these days I'll get some more videos out there to you guys and get some projects going. I just I got so many house projects to do right now. Since getting Ruby, which is our 2020 Equinox, it's my wife's car. I I've got to get I've got to get the garage cleaned out because I want her to be able to put her car in the garage. Actually, I want to get it to the point where we put both our cars in the garage, and of course, all my stuff will just have to sit outside. I mean, I just no other place to put it. I can't afford to build a shop out back big enough to put everything in, although that's a dream. Put my eyeballs on. I think I had heard about that, Brian. I heard somebody was making something. I don't know how well a Transbury could hold up in a 60. Um, Although the ones that I've built so far have held up pretty well. Um, my original one that I built that was in um, the name of the truck is Slim Shady, I think if I remember right. But anyway, it's a 04, 05 GMC pickup. It's got a pretty stout 5.3, and he's beat the crap out of this thing, and it's still going. Um, I got this 4L70 that I built for a guy that smoked the 3.4 clutch already, and turns out that there's something going on with the pressure control solenoid circuit, and it wasn't increasing line pressure like it was supposed to. And I think that's what burnt the clutch up. It also had a leaking aftermarket 3/4 check ball capsule. It was one that he brought me this kit. He brought me a Fairbanks kit, which I don't have anything against Fairbanks. It's just not what I usually use. I mean, I usually use Sonic stuff. And they actually have you replace that capsule in there with the one they supply. Well, when I took this thing apart the last time, that capsule was leaking. They decided to put a spring underneath that check ball and make it spring loaded. The problem with that is when I applied air to it to air check, it was just blowing freaking air right out that clutch, which that's not the way that's supposed to work. So I had to order a new style orifice, well, new style, but the original style orifice check ball so I can replace it. I couldn't just replace the input housing because he bought the shaft stiffener from Sonex that actually the sleeve that goes around the shaft, and it comes with a billet piston. And so I can't just take that out because it's actually Loctited in there. So I got another orifice and finally got all the parts back in for that. So I've got to finish putting that one back together. Then we're going to check it. Check it again when we get it back in to see if we've got line pressure increase like it's supposed to. If not, then that truck's going to need a PCM because I mean the solenoid the pressure control solenoid checked out okay. You're supposed to have between 4 and 7 or something 3 and 7 ohms of resistance on it, and I was getting 4.2 ohms. But when you tried to control it with the scanner, it wouldn't do anything. It would just stay at like 80 psi. It didn't matter what you did, it was stuck at 80 psi. So I pulled the valve body apart, make sure the AFL isn't sticking and the regulator valve isn't sticking. And I looked at the pump, looked at the pressure regulator and the pump, the boost valve, and all that stuff. Nothing was stuck. So basically, I'm gonna put it, all the other clutches were fine. The 2.4 band was perfect. It hadn't been slipping on the drum. The Ford clutch was perfect. The Sprag was perfect. All that stuff was perfect. No issues. So I'm sure it has to do with the line pressure deal. Uses the reverse clutch for third apply, huh? Interesting. Time into the band on the 3 clutch for fourth, right? If I change the wire harness and reset all the code, do you think that would clear up? Doc, usually a hard shifting 4L80E will be caused by an incorrect mass airflow sensor reading or a speed sensor that's not correct. Or it could have stuck line pressure where it's stuck wide open or not enough A faulty pressure control solenoid can cause that too. Yeah, I was going to say that. That's kind of what I was getting at, Brian. It sounds like it's in limp in mode. Doc, if you get a misfire code, that will cause that thing to shift hard because it's not getting the correct airflow across that mass airflow meter, and you're having to push the engine harder to get it to move if you got a misfire. Come to realize I don't like the 98 Durango. I about bought one of those, a Durango. I didn't think they were too bad. So much for Chinese injectors. So, Brian, are you talking about using the clutches that are in the reverse input housing, or are you talking about the low reverse clutches? I'm kind of confused. I'm guessing you're talking about the ones in the reverse input housing, but that to me doesn't make much sense. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how that turns out, because I think that would be a timing issue too. And you kind of wonder if GM had ever thought of that, and they figured that you'd have too much problem with shift timing. Um, because if you think about it, that's a lot of clutch to have to release because you got to release. Well, I guess not, but I mean, as long as the pump could come, keep up with the demand, because you're asking it to apply pressure to another clutch circuit. So you'd have oil flow on um, the forward clutch, the 3/4 clutch, and the reverse input housing. Plus, uh, if you've got it in manual third, you'd also have the overrun clutch engaged. That's a lot of oil flow. I mean, I don't see why the pump couldn't keep up if the pump pressure was adjusted accordingly. Is that what you're going to put in, Mike? Is that what you're going to put in your Durangos? A 350 with a 350 turbo in it. That that'd be a unique combination. Yeah, you'd have to reroute it some way to be able to get, the flow right. Like you said, it has to do with orifice sizing and everything else to get it all work. But I mean, if it's that good of an idea, I don't understand why GM didn't put it in production. I guess is what I was getting at when I'd said that. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cost of manufacture. Hell, they can't even get anything right on their V8s right now. I mean, we're talking about older transmissions. Yeah. Uh, last last year they produced that 4L60 was 2009, if I remember right. Anything after that was the six speed. And in fact, speaking of which, from what I understand, they're getting ready to phase out the six speed, and from now on, everything out is going to be an eight speed, except for what they put in the 10 speed. Yeah, I'm sure R&D didn't want to do anything like that. It's just like TCI coming out with the 4L80 and making it a six speed. They figured out how to do it. That's the same thing they did with the Allison. The original Allison was set up to be a 10 speed. Uh, they didn't want to do that, so they made it a five speed. Well, GM didn't want to do it. Allison probably would have done it without a heartbeat. What's up, Luke? Welcome to the chat room. 4L860 going to have a brand new Twitter. Luke, if you've got one that's that tight, you need to make sure that torque converter's all the way seated in the pump. Because if it's that tight, it almost sounds like it's not fully engaged in the pump. Either that or it's got a wrong torque converter. The only other thing that could be is if you replace the flywheel, if it's on backwards, because there is an engine side. Thanks for that, Doc. Please do. I mean, if you guys get a chance, reach up there and smash that like button for me. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, I mean it's quite possible because they're real easy to crack if you don't get that torque converter all the way seated. Luke, the thing when you put it in, it should uh, it should almost you rotate the thing to get it seated in there, and you should actually feel it thud like three times. And usually you can't hardly get a finger behind it when that torque converter is all the way in there. And you should have a pretty significant uh, space away from the bell housing face to the mounting pad of the torque converter. Um, but like I said, that thing will go in, you know, should be a good solid 3 clicks. And on that year, that should be a 298 millimeter converter. In other words, it'll have the small step on the input shaft. It won't be all one size like the later model one. It'll still be a 2-piece bell housing, but it'll have the old style shaft in it. Hello, Soft Warp. Thanks for stopping in. Luke, I'm going to go to their website real quick and see what you're looking at. I must not be looking at the right one because I'm just getting some bogus stuff. '84 to '97. Right, Brian. Exactly right. Software, we're talking about transmission stuff. Yeah, the 98 to 2003, Luke, should have been the one that should have got. So, software, yes, that's what we're talking cars. Yeah, you should have got the 98 to 20. Well, I don't know if it's 2023. That doesn't sound right. What's the website that you're going to, Luke? Put that out there on the page because I want to see what you're looking at. Because I don't think I've got the right one. Okay, 4842G. That's what I'll put in there. Let's see here. I still don't come up with one under um, under precision transmission. So I don't know. I must not. Doc, you talking about um, you talking about on your Bonneville bang shifting and no lockup? Because if so, it's probably setting a code um, in the computer. The 4T65s, um, if it had the real high gear ratio transmission final drive, they used to do that all the time. And Brian, you are correct. If it's in limp in mode, it goes to full line pressure. Yeah, Brian, unless he's still got one that they're, well, a 99 Tahoe. I think that's what he said it was. Yeah, 99 Tahoe 57. So it would never would have had a pilot in it, but I'm thinking if it had a pilot in it. Brian, he says it's a 99. I just went through deal up here. Yeah, said it's a '99 Chevy Tahoe 5.7 Vortec. Hmm. Yeah, I still can't find that page. Yeah, Brian, that's some good advice. I mean, I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with the rest of the clan here. Um, that's kind of what this forum's kind of all about. Is kind of share knowledge, um, help people that need the help for sure. Matter, bub, you itching? Hmm? Are you itching? Are you itching? You just want me to scratch your back, don't you? I load the parts cannon. Yeah, there's to add to that, Luke, there you should be able, I think it's something like when the converter's all the way into the hub and you've got it mated up to the bell housing, um, you should have like about you should be able to slide like I think it's a 3/16 drill bit in between a mounting pad and a flywheel, and that'll tell you that it's right. It's something like that. I think it's 3/16. That way you've got a full engagement. Yeah, I gave it a benefit of the doubt, Brian. I added a 16th to it, but I mean, in reality, if everything's right, you shouldn't have to put a spacer in it. But when you start doing aftermarket parts, nothing fits exactly like it did from the factory. Basically, it shouldn't be right up against the flywheel, and it shouldn't be like hanging out. It's kind of a judgment call. It's what I've always done in the past. You just kind of use your best judgment. Rate that we're going right now with torque converters dropping like flies at work, you just kind of get used to just kind of eyeballing it and saying, "Oh yeah, that's going to work." Yep, yep, for sure. Some new thing that they've done with the 8L series torque converters too, and they do it on the 6Ls on the small engine displacement. They put this staked nut. It's not really a nut, but they used a staked threaded insert in the converter. And if you have to reuse the converter, you don't clean the glue out of it. And when you put the new torque converter bolt in that's got glue on it, it grabs that nut and it breaks it loose from the tacks. And then it makes it almost impossible to tighten up. Yeah. I tell you what, guys, we tried at this Japanese food place tonight for dinner. Holy crap, did it have salt in? My freaking fingers are so damn swollen up. Sure was good though. Man, it was good. They're really not that bad. They're actually pretty reliable. Um, they, I mean, some things are starting to show up, but I mean, other than converter issues, um, we haven't had to repair a whole lot of those yet. I don't know if it's just too early or if GM has decided that they're not going to manufacture a cheaper part that fails more frequently, so you know they fail. I think we've we've seen a couple of 10 speeds, but more shedder issues than anything with torque motors on those. Um, Down here in Florida, they recommend in hot climates and stuff, they recommend you change the fluid um, every 45,000 miles, and they customers don't like to do that. They don't want to spend any money on their car. A Yugoslavian lawnmower, a Yugo with a PTO and a lawnmower deck. That's funny. Sounds like it's not in all the way, Luke. Um, but Brian's right. You look at your gap on your mounting flange. I'm a terrible artist, but I'll see if I can draw this out a little bit. Okay. So you get your converter here. You get a mounting pad. And like I said, I'm a terrible artist. So basically what he's talking about, if you look at this, say this is your bell housing here. This is your converter. Again, I'm a terrible artist, so I don't draw. I just fix cars. That would be a mounting point for your torque converter bolt, and you got one there. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking the straight edge and you're going all the way across there, and you're measuring this distance right here in between the bell housing flange and your mounting pad. That's what you're looking for your distance in there. If it's not in all the way, then that will be too close or almost flush with that bell housing. So that's what we're talking about. Well, that's fantastic, Doc. Nothing like having a standby generator that can't do standby generating. That's a big V twin too. Okay, I found a video for you, Luke. This guy here shows that torque converter spacing. It might help you. Yeah, like Brian says, be easy with it. But the thing I can tell you is if you don't think it went in all the way, you just kind of wiggle it and spin it at the same time, without using a whole lot of force, and it will seat all the way in that pump gear. 9/16. That's not near deep enough. That converter's not in all the way. It should be a lot deeper than that. I'm pretty sure. I got another one I'm looking at here real quick while we're sitting on it. Give a listen to this guy here and see. Looks like an Aussie. It is an Aussie. Ooh, here's one from Scrogin Dickey. Scoggin Dickey, excuse me. Usually they're pretty good. Okay, so here's another video that I've just come up with um, that might help you. This one's from Scoggin Dickey. Um, yeah. What's up, Mike? I'm back too. Yeah, Luke, if you're wiggling it from side to side, more than likely it's not in. Inch and an eighth. Luke, I mean, there's still a possibility that, uh, let's see, you said put it in, take it out. Your pump flanges are in the same spot. Okay, so if your ears are in the same spot, you haven't engaged that torque converter all the way in for sure. Because I mean, if you put that thing in there, that you should have rotated that pump on the inside. But check out, there's some Scoggin Dickey. This one I just sent you. Um, they're they're pretty good. He gives a pretty good explanation of it. The transmission he's got pictured on it is that is a 6L80. No, it's not. Let me look at that a minute. That is a 6L90. It's a 6L. It's a 6-speed transmission. It's still got the rubber plug in the dipstick hole, but yeah, I mean that's what we're here to do. Help Luke. Yeah, Doc, the guy that I was watching was definitely an Aussie for sure. He was messing with a C4. Yeah, they are essentially the same. Crappy design though, because they seem to fail more than anything. Usually because the converter goes bad. sends a bunch of crap through the pump and destroys it. Yeah, Doc, they do have the best. That Barra 6 that they got here is a mean son of a mutt. A lot of guys are getting them shipped from overseas. Um, they get a lot of good engines there. This splinter is about to drive me nuts. I can snag that dude with my nail, but I can't get it out. Feels like a metal splinter of some sort. I don't know where I got it. Yeah, Brian, they are a neat transmission. Man, they're like this era's moneymaker for me because we got there for a while. I was doing a ton of them. It's kind of slowed down. I actually got one right now that's I didn't think this 19 had it, but this 19 Silverado that I got in the shop. Usually the 6Ls have got a dipstick on them. This one doesn't, but at 6 speeds done. It's sucking air. And I got to tear the engine down because it's got a rattle tap noise going on it. I think it's probably upper end. May have a broken valve spring, a bent valve or a bent push rod. Yeah, they are. Um, I've learned a couple of tricks with them, and that help a lot because those like to chatter the pistons because they're aluminum. So, um, I use the same technique I do on the my 4L60 builds, and I usually knock the glaze off of the piston so they slide fairly well. But they're uh, they're pretty decent. If you just keep a converter in it, they'd probably last a long time. Luke, sometimes those converters can be a real pain in the butt, um, and they'll be stubborn and not want to go in the pump all the way. But just take your time. Yeah, exactly. Take your time, and it'll go in there. I had one that would I on a 6L that I just had to keep rotating and rotating and rotating because it didn't want to grab the pump cogs, and eventually it did. But yeah, just keep rotating and it'll go in there. Sent the whole mess to the scrap yard. uh, I did an E4OD for a guy that had a um, Ford F-150. It had a 351 in front of it. And he comes back to me and says, "Well, how come this thing's making this god awful noise?" Because he put it in, and they brought it to me. And what had happened is on the E4OD, the park pawl rod that's in the back, if you're not careful, since it sits on the outside of the case, if you're not careful, you'll knock that rod out of there. And so it doesn't have any spring tension on the park pawl. So every time you'd go around the corner, that thing would ratchet against the uh, the castle gear, and it just and I was like, well, I know what happened. Is you knocked that spring out of there. So I was able to fix it for him pretty quick. Luke, not likely, because I mean, if you got it, yeah, I mean, if you got it too, so far in, you're gonna get that shaft through the seal. More likely it's just being stubborn, not wanting to go on the pump. Hmm. I'm gonna act like a moderator because I don't want to close the stream down yet tonight until Luke has some success with his torque converter install. I want to make sure that he gets it in there. Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. So why are they like women? That's pretty funny. It's about the truth, though. Depends on how much time you get, if you know what I mean. Oh, Yeah, Brian, I'm just not into blocking stuff. The fourth accumulator doesn't make much difference anyway, but um, the ones that just like that Suburban I built for the guy, I left it in there, and he says it's just fantastic. I mean, most of the builds that I do are for street driven vehicles that, um, they don't need it shattering their teeth every time it shifts, but they need something quick and precise. And that's what I've done so far. So it's kind of a safety to keep from beating everything up. So Luke, I'd say if you've been spinning that thing and it's not going in, I'd probably be checking to make sure that that is the uh, correct one for your transmission. Luke, the only thing I can say on that, if it still won't engage the pump, you need to, if you rebuilt the pump and you had it mounted up and you tried to pull the transmission in with the converter not all the way seated, like Brian had stated earlier, there's a good possibility that the pump is broken. Um, so it might be something that you want to take it apart and inspect that pump and make sure the pump isn't broken. Yeah, just Brian, it's like that doing that Fairbanks kit. I've used Superior products and Fairbanks in the past and not had a lick of issue with them. But to me, I found that the quality of the Sonics parts is just that much better. Um, it works for me. But fall asleep. Yeah, you're not lying there, Doc. We see it every day in the dealership, but it just keeps getting worse. Um, one of the fellow techs there had a 2021, 2022 pickup with like 20 some thousand miles on it, um, blowing uh, blowing smoke out the oil fill tube, and a misfire or something on number seven cylinder, and he tore it down. And needless to say, and he sold rings for this thing, and he got the thing tore down, and number seven piston was just broken right underneath the top ring land. Um, he pulled the rest of the pistons out, and I think he said there was either three or four more that were just the same way. So he ended up having to put pistons in this engine with like no miles on it to speak of. They're just dropping like fly. Mike, you have a good evening. I'm just about done. I got this stupid fly in here. It's about to drive me nuts, and I haven't been able to kill it yet. Driving me crazy, this stupid thing. Oh. Luke, it's very common. It's very possible. But yeah, it wouldn't take much to pop that pump back out of there and look at it, take it apart and look at the pump. Did you take the pump apart to begin with, or you just rebuild the innards? Ooh. Hi, Jerry. Good to see you, buddy. I've been following your stuff you've been sending me on Facebook. I like your little heater you made. That was pretty cool. Pun intended. Yeah, that's a neat style, neat idea for a heater for sure. Yeah, if if you get any questions on that and whether or not that converter is right, if it's that what they say, it's a I'm just thinking if they gave you an early style, I don't know if I've got the book here. My freaking fingers are so swollen I can't hardly do anything. Get the keyboard out of the way here. What's up, Scott? I'm looking in my update book. I'm kind of confused to which shaft you actually have, Luke. Brian, I'm thinking on that year, I think you can get the pump out without taking the valve body off, since you're not taking anything else out. Now, if you're taking the yeah, you should be able to, because you got to remember that the valve body doesn't cover up that hole with the extruded check ball on the end. The splines are set back about 1 inch. So does it have the stepped shaft, or is it all one diameter? Because according to my book, that's supposed to have a 300 millimeter shaft in it. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Because that was in those years that they started changing everything. What's up, Stephen? It is the step shaft. Okay. Step shaft is the 298 shaft. But according to this, the bell housing's a 300 millimeter shaft, or 300 millimeter. But that wouldn't, if everything's the same as what it was when you pulled it out, then the only thing that's your variable is the torque converter. Nine LUD is a 1999 utility vehicle. That's what the U means. Yeah, it should be the two-piece case, removable bell housing. you're right. It doesn't mean much, Brian, but it does kind of tell you what the thing came out of, and the year of the production. I can't find that damn whatchamacallit. I guess it's guess I was seeing things. I could have sworn it was in this book. Apparently not. All right, Jerry. Have a good night. Thanks for at least stopping in. Oh, well, Stephen, if you're still out there, what's going on, brother? I'm on kind of late tonight. Well, late for me anyway. It's only 9 o'clock or 8 or 9 o'clock in California, so we're down here in Florida. So it's 11:15. Well, anyway. Well, Luke, if you still, let's see, still here, same old crap. A sausage biscuit. Yeah. Been pretty good. Been hanging in there, doing what we can to survive. Spending lots of money that we don't have, and it's getting worse. You too, Brian. Thanks for stopping in and sharing your knowledge. Like I said, it's a forum to help everybody out. So input's good like that. So you take care also, and we'll catch you on the next one. Stephen, she loves it. She loves it a lot. I was saying earlier, it's first time that we went out to dinner tonight, and she drove, and it's the first time we've been on the highway with it. And that thing is just super smooth. And she goes, I can tell this thing is going to get me in trouble. She went and looked, and we're going quite a bit over the posted speed limit. And and it didn't feel like it. It was so smooth. She goes, yeah, this thing's got some get up and go. And it does. Finally got all the regular unleaded out of it, because you're supposed to run premium in those. So um, it's got its first full tank of premium fuel since we got it, but she loves it. Yeah, you too, Brian. God bless. Luke, you should be able to see. Um, you should be able to see the two gears. They should be opposite of each other, equal distance apart. In other words, one will be 180 degrees from the other one. That's your two pump cogs that the torque converter grabs. Yeah, you should see those, and you should have them. I don't know. Usually, if the pump's broke, they won't be um, exactly 180 from each other. Another thing you can do that I've done in the past is you can take a pick, just a small pick, and go down through that hole where the deal is, and spin that thing by hand with a pick, and make sure it rotates smooth and you don't get some abnormal movement from the other side. That'll tell you real quick if it's broke, because it won't rotate smooth. Steven, I can't afford a new truck. Um, I'm stuck with Bertha, and there's nothing wrong with Bertha mechanically. It just, the poor old girl's just getting wore out, and I need to get off my horse and rebuild it. Um, I've got to get my two-wheeler sold. I just don't ride it anymore, and I'd rather somebody else enjoy it as much as I did. So if I can get that thing sold, then I'm going to start on I'm going to start on getting Bertha fixed. Yeah, I don't know if y'all have priced used cars lately, but the used car market it's pretty steep. And what's worse is the banks are not wanting to loan any kind of money. And I've heard that um, if you try to refinance a house, you're going to be SOL, because the banks aren't wanting to do anything with it. I managed to sneak in and get this house refined before all the really bad stuff's been hitting. But if y'all been paying attention to what's going on in our economy, it's not looking pretty, especially with the bank collapses that we've had lately. So yeah, Stephen, I still do plan on selling the bike. Um, don't want to, but it's time to let it go, and I'm trying to get some serious cleanup done around the house, get some other stuff sold, stuff that we just don't use. I get rid of all my spare computer parts that I've got mounds of. Still haven't fixed my editing computer yet. Still trying to get a point to put the gate together. I don't know. There's so many things on my list right now, and of course, the wife keeps asking me, says, "When are you going to get that stuff done?" When I have some more time. So, Luke, if they're 180 degrees apart from each other and you can slide down in there with a pick and rotate it, yeah, I just figured you would. I figured you'd bring it up, Stephen. Uh, so yeah, if they're 180 apart and you can take a pick and rotate the pump pretty easily inside, chances are it's probably not broke. But um, I guess I would tell you to make sure that they gave you the right converter. An easy way to tell too, this 298 millimeter shaft will have the O-ring for the lockup converter at the very tip of the shaft where the smooth part is, where a 300 millimeter shaft will have the splines at the top, and the O-ring for the torque converter is much larger, and it goes below the splines on the input shaft. And obviously the converters are different for those. So, well, folks, I'm going to call it a night. Luke, if you've got any questions that you want to get a hold of me, just drop me an email. Stephen, I have tons of videos that are out there that I have not had a chance to edit yet, just have not had a chance. Yeah, Luke, if you get one that you can't rotate that pump in there, if you can't spin it with a pick, just take and try to rotate it inside there, then you get an issue with your pump for sure. And you're going to have to take it apart and take a look at it. You need to make sure and measure that stuff. If you replace the pump gears, take and get you a caliper and measure the pocket to make sure that the pump rotor and slide is the correct one for that. Because if it's too tight, it won't pump any fluid. You'll just end up destroying it. So you definitely got an issue with your pump, or it's broke, one of the two. So you need to get that out, get it apart, and take a look at it. And like I said, shoot me an email and let me know what you decide to do. And I will do what I can to help you via email, or maybe we can contact each other that way. But there's my email address. Good luck with it. Let me know. For everybody that's still here, I thank you so much for the conversation tonight, and we'll get at you probably next week. So that being said, make sure to take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless you, and God bless America. Bye-bye.